Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have something a little bit different. We're going to return it to Slovenia. And we're going to do my first ever review from Pivovarna Human Fish. So today we have their Russian Imperial Stout, which comes in 8.2%. This should be a really quite good beer. It was rated 96 overall on Rate Beer, but only 56 actually within the Imperial Stout category. So that tells you it should be a little bit quirky, but definitely looking forward to trying this one. This beer was actually one of 5 that was very kindly sent to me by Davor Shira. It's one of my subscribers from Slovenia. He saw my last review I did, which was the Pivovarna Pelican, the third pill, and he decided he wanted me to review some more Slovenian beers, so he very kindly sent me up a box of 6 beers, although only 5 of them unfortunately survived the trip. But a huge thank you to him, and I hope, Davor, that you enjoy the reviews. And as I always say, it's really cool to review beers from different countries. Slovenia, of course, is more known for its wine than its beer. But as I say, you can always find really random places that are good for beer, and the stuff that I've had from Slovenia so far, the Pivovarna Pelican beer was good, and I'm sure this one will be pretty damn good as well. So once again, a huge thank you to Davor for sending up these beers. You will see the other 4 reviews coming over the next 2 or 3 weeks or something like that, so I hope you guys watching down in Slovenia do enjoy this little series of videos. But where better to start than the first and the oldest craft brewery in Slovenia. So anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Pivovarna Human Fish. Like I said, this is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. I will make one for all the Slovenian beers that I review, and as always, please get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review, especially if you're watching for Slovenia. But it's always great to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Pivovarna Human Fish then. So Human Fish is a family business based in Vrhnika in Slovenia, about 20 kilometres or so to the southwest of the capital city, Ljubljana, and it's run by Australian Matthew Charlesworth. But he actually trained to brew at the American Brewers Guild in Vermont, and before that he'd worked in the oil industry for a number of years and had lived in various different countries. So after settling in Slovenia, and the main reason for this of course was that his wife, I think it was her father, was from Slovenia, he said in the interview. So they did have a connection to Slovenia, but he was actually fundamental, I guess, or instrumental, you would say, in founding the Goldings Beer Association, which has been one of the big craft beer organisations in Slovenia, and that's what's actually prompted a lot of the craft beer market growth in the country. But he actually founded Human Fish Brewery back in 2007, and originally in Sloven Gradec, and then he moved it later on to an old dairy building in the centre of Vrhnika, and this actually now has a tap room that you can go and visit and try all the different Human Fish beers. But like I said, these guys are the oldest craft brewery in Slovenia, and it's quite interesting that to see that it's an Australian that's gone there and really started to kick things off. And I think that's what happens in a lot of countries. In Japan, for example, you've got Beard Beer, who kicked off a lot of things, an American guy that owns that, of course. But the brewery, the name Human Fish actually comes from the Olm salamander, which is actually only found in a few caves in the Damaric Alps in southern Slovenia, and I think northern Croatia as well. But the Postojna cave is actually particularly famous for these animals. Davor was telling me that I should go and check this out, but the name of these animals in Slovenian is Sloveška ribica, and the English translation of this literally is human fish, and they're given this name because they have a kind of, the complexion of these animals, the skin colour is pretty much the same as a Caucasian man or woman, of course, so it's quite cool. That's why it's called Human Fish. And if you go and look up the pictures of this thing on Wikipedia, it's a really strange looking little animal, but very, very rare. I'll put the Wikipedia page in the description below if you do want to have a read about that. I'm always interested in these things, of course, being a scientist, but that's where they get their name from. It's a very kind of local thing, particularly Slovenia, that these little animals are from. And like I said at the start of the video, it's really cool to try a beer from Slovenia's first craft brewery. They've got quite a few different things as well. I'll put the link to their Facebook page in the description below. When I checked the website earlier, it didn't seem to be working, so maybe they're updating it or something right now, but do check out the Facebook page and you can see all the different beers and things that these guys do and keep up to date with the latest goings on at the brewery. So yeah, let's get on to the tasting section of this video then. Let me just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one, if I can find my cursor. There we are. So yeah, as you can see, this beer, it's actually in a really nice little stumpy bottle. I do like the way that they've presented this one. It says, in the cold Russian winter, yellow fizzy water freezes before you can drink it, and later before it hits the ground. But in the Gulag, a beer slushy is not what you need. As dark as Russian history and as rich as those who rewrote it, this is the beer that you deserve right now, not the one you need. Your sovereignty has been compromised. Plain bottle cap on this one, of course. There, you can see on the back, there's the little blurb that I had there. You can see the Russian bear, of course, obviously a reference to the kind of phrase for Russia. You can see it's quite nicely presented there, and of course there's the little blurb. Oh no, it's just telling you a little bit about the brewery, that one. You can see a little log cabin there, but some nice artwork on this plain bottle cap. As I said, 8.2% Imperial Stout. So without further ado, let's get this beer open and we'll get on to the tasting then. We'll have a wee look at this beer. So yeah, nice smoky opening on this one then, and we'll get it out and into the glass. Just look at how thick that beer is actually. You can smell some of the nice fruity and sort of dark chocolate character off this one as you pour it out. I've maybe poured out about 2/3 of it there, but we'll just leave it at that for the moment. But as you can see, this beer is poured a really nice dark ebony rosewood colour. If I hold it up to the light, it does have a wee tiny bit of a ruby edge to it, so just pay attention to that when you try this beer. There's a solid finger of a frothy, definitely kind of dark beigey tan head to this one. It's almost the same colour as a head that you would get on a hot chocolate, but you can really smell some of these nice, quite sharp actually, red juicy fruits from this beer coming out. It's got some lovely red fruity ester character, this one. But it looks absolutely lovely. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head of this beer. It actually looks really, really quite nice, this one. So let's have a closer look at the aroma then. Oh yeah. When you're just moving the beer around, it really does smell quite sharp and quite fruity, but when you go closer into it, there's a lot more malty presence to this one. You've got a lot of nice chocolate, some milky chocolate, some darker chocolate in there. There's some toasted sort of brown sugars as well. I think there's a little bit of a sort of licoricey note, but that's a bit more in the background. When you sugar it up, I think definitely you can get a little bit more of a licorice character out of this beer. There's a bit of earthy hop right enough, but when it sugars up as well, I'm getting a little bit more of these sort of sharp red fruity esters to this one. I think it's a sort of juicy, it's quite a sharp sort of raisiny plum sort of thing, this one. It smells really nice. But this beer really, it does smell more sweet than anything. It's got a lovely malt base to it and some nice sharp fruits. There's a little bit of earthy hop in there. You can smell a wee bit of the sort of roasted black malts to this one, but that's very minimal. To me, it smells sweet more than anything. It's sweet chocolate. Yeah, it's sweet chocolate. Kind of sort of toasted brown sugars in this one. Not sure if it's quite as dark as treacle and molasses, but definitely a nice sort of toasted brown sugar element to this beer. But it does smell absolutely lovely. I mean, on the basis of the aroma, you'd probably think that this one is quite a bit higher in alcohol than it actually is. At 8.2%, it is one of the lower ABV Imperial Stouts that I've come across on the channel actually. But this should be a really quite nice beer, this one. So yeah, really cool to try a beer, like I said, from the very first Slovenian craft brewery. A huge thank you once again to Davor for sending the Slovenian box up to me. So we'll get stuck into this beer then. Na zdravje. Oh yeah, that's a pretty damn good beer actually. And this is one thing, you know, just on the first taste of this beer, as I was saying, it was rated 96 overall on Rate Beer, and this is one of the problems I find with Rate Beer a little bit. It can be good as just a barometer to let you know how good a beer is if you're going to buy it or something. But this one was rated 96 overall, but it was only 56 or something like that within the style. I really don't get why. I just don't understand that rating of this beer. That's a little side note though. We'll look closer at the flavour of this one. So this beer really is quite interesting. It starts off really quite sweet, and then it just gives way, and you get a lot of bitterness out of it actually. It's actually quite a bitter Imperial Stout, this one. So as you move into the aftertaste, you can feel those sort of black malts just pushing their way out, and the middle of the tongue really kind of subsides, the sweetness subsides, and you get a big sort of roasted black malt bitterness to this one. There's a little bit of an almost coffee-ish smoothness to it at points. In the middle of the tongue I'm getting a little bit of a more smooth kind of coffee aspect to this beer. In the back corners of the palate it's actually got quite a it's got a good bit of bitterness from the earthy hops, and that just smooths out as you come further forward. Maybe it's even a tiny little bit grassy around the front curve of your palate, but that's very, very minimal. I would guess that they've put Slovenian hops in this one, and that's maybe the reason why it has a little bit of that grassy character. The Slovenian hops, of course, I find that they do tend to be very similar in kind of flavour and things to the German ones. Actually, they've got that typical kind of slightly grassy, noble character, but on the basis of the earthiness in this one, I'd say there's maybe some English hops in there as well. It's got that slightly dark, earthy character that you expect of English hops. But it works out really nice. I like how the beer, it comes in sweet and then it just gets progressively more bitter from the malt base in this one, but the hops overall are quite nice and smooth, and they do smooth out even more as your palate actually starts to adjust to the beer. But in the beginning, this one, you know, it comes across quite chocolatey. There's a little bit of a kind of syrupy, kind of brown sugar element to this one. I think there's maybe a sort of almost leathery or maybe even a slightly nutty note to this beer right in the middle of the palate, but then, as I say, that subsides. But then again, as your palate starts to adjust to it, I'm getting more and more, as my palate adjusts to it, I should say, I'm getting more and more of the sweeter side of the malt base kind of remaining in the middle of the palate. It's more towards the very back of the mouth that these dark, kind of bitter, roasty elements of the beer are starting to come out. It's really quite nicely done, this one, and it is quite different. It does have a different feel to it than some of the other Russian Imperial Stouts that I've come across, actually. This one to me comes across as just a little bit more bitter than some of the other ones. I tell you, the main point of this is that it is a good beer. If you get the chance to try this, I would recommend that you do. Probably this beer is a good is a good one for fans of coffee stouts, actually. It's got that bitterness that comes out in the aftertaste. It's quite nice. I want to say there's maybe a tiny little bit of licorice character to this one in the middle of the palate too, but not too much. That's a very, very subtle note to this beer. For me, it's more chocolatey and sort of a kind of quite rich brown sugar, kind of toasted brown sugar, caramelly thing going on in this one. It's just nice how this beer works out, and it's interesting the transition that this beer makes from being sweet into being a more kind of roasty, bitter and earthy, hoppy sort of thing. So if you just go behind the front curve of your palate as well, that's where you get this little oily bubble that I always talk about, where the fruity esters come out of the beer. And for me, it actually comes across as less sharp in the taste than it does in the aroma. When I opened up this beer, it had some really sharp kind of raisin or plummy notes, but to me it actually comes across as more of a kind of candied red fruit, or a sort of figgy kind of thing coming out of this beer. Yeah, it is a little bit more figgy, I would say, but that said, there is a little bit of sharpness. When you pay attention to it a little bit more, you can pick up a little bit more sharpness out of the beer, which does tend to be more like raisins or plums. I'd say it's more plum. It has a little bit of the plumminess on the back side of things, but it starts off and it's got that slightly sharper element that you expect to raisins. But it's really nice, this beer. As I say, there's a lot of stuff going on in it. It's got a good bit of complexity that kind of keeps you interested in this beer. But on the basis of this one, you know, at 8.2%, I'm thinking about the kind of alcohol warmth you should get from this beer. It does actually feel as if it's a little bit heavier than that. Yeah, you could try this beer and think, you know, maybe it's a 10 or 11% or something like that. But it's nice. I mean, the main point, I mean, the alcohol content, I don't think, is a big issue for these beers. It's more about how they taste, and this one certainly is quite good. So in terms of the rating it has on Rate Beer, like I was saying, the 96 that it has, I could say it deserves that. I could definitely agree that it kind of deserves that sort of rating. In terms of the 55 within the style, I have to admit, I don't understand that. It's, you know, the main point of this is that it's a pretty damn good beer, and if in terms of Russian Imperial Stouts, if I was recommending this beer, I would say, you know, if you like your Imperial Stouts, to be sort of big and bitter, you know, to have that roasty black malt bitterness to them. This is one that's going to hit the spot for you. It has a little bit of sweetness in the beginning, but really it's more of an earthy, hoppy and kind of roasty bitter character. Probably for fans of coffee stouts who've not really tried many imperial stouts as well, this could be a sort of good middle ground for you. But the main point of this, the kind of tasting of this beer, is that it is pretty damn good. So if you get the chance to try this, I do recommend that you have a look at it. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I'd say this one, it is kind of mid-bodied, maybe just pushing the sort of the full-bodied kind of category, I guess you would say. It's got a bit of oily character to it, this one. There's a little bit of creaminess as well. The carbonation is very, very soft. I'd say it's a little bit lighter than some of the other imperial stouts that I've had recently. It does feel a little bit lighter in the mouthfeel than some of the other ones. Like I was saying, the mouthfeel, it starts off quite sweet from the malts, then it progresses into a more roasty kind of bitterness thing. It smooths out right enough as you get to the kind of end of the aftertaste of this beer. The hops are very smooth, just with a little bit of bitterness, and there is a sort of juicy, fruity side of this beer as well, just behind the front curve of the tongue, like I was saying. But overall, you know, it is a really quite nice beer, this one. And as I've always said, it's really cool to go and try beers from different countries and see that they can replicate the standards of other countries as well. So, you know, in Eastern Europe, Poland is producing some very good beer. Slovenia obviously is producing some very good beer as well. Estonia as well. And I mean, it's really cool to go into these countries and see that it's not just the likes of Germany, Belgium and America and things like that that are producing good beer. It's always cool to try beers from places that you wouldn't expect and to find them to be a really good standard. So if you get the chance to try some of these human fish beers from Slovenia, I highly recommend that you do. Slovenia, of course, is supposed to be a really beautiful country as well, so it could well be worth visiting there. I'm sure I'll do it at some point in the near future because I've seen pictures of it. It's brilliant. They've got a big metal festival. They've obviously got good beer as well. You know, what's not to like? So yeah, this was the Russian Imperial Stout from Pivovarna Human Fish in Vrhnika in Slovenia. So once again, a huge thank you to Davor for sending me this beer. You will see the next in this kind of Slovenian series over the next wee while. There's another 4 videos are going to come out from the ones that Davor sent me, so you can enjoy those. But as always, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. If you haven't tried some of the Pivovarna Human Fish beers, do check them out. Hopefully I can go and visit them sometime actually in Slovenia. That would be really cool, and hopefully I can try some more of their beers for you soon. But again, thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Until the next time, it's Landed just now, Nastravia. Make sure you try the Russian Imperial Stout from Pivovarna Human Fish. It's really leaning towards these nice roasty bitter characters, so it'll be right up your street if you enjoy that. Nastravia.